Hello and good morning everyone. Thank you for joining Jade Global today for the webinar. We have a very good crowd here today and that's great. My name is Sangeeta Jash and I'm the Assistant Manager Marketing Communications at Jade Global and also your moderator today for this webinar. We have Girish Bhargav here to discuss this topic in more detail. Jade Global is an Oracle Platinum partner and is a leading information technology services and solutions provider. We deliver the right combination of business knowledge, product and technical expertise, project management and flexible delivery models to every engagement to ensure every client's long-term growth and success in business. For more information, please visit our website www.jadeglobal.com. Alright, now I would like to introduce Girish. Girish Bhargav is the lead Oracle Financials Consultant at Jade Global. He is a certified project management professional. He is behind some of the most successful Oracle EBS R12 upgrade and implementation projects. I will hand it over to Girish now, who will review the agenda and continue with the presentation. Over to you, Girish.
Thanks, Sangeeta. Good morning, everyone. We are joining today for a discussion on the advanced collection. For today's agenda, I will be sharing with all of the attendees how Jade has assisted a social media company in implementing receivable collection and what made them to think of shifting to advanced collections. First, we'll briefly discuss the background of the project, the business requirements, what was Jade's initial proposed solution, and what was the company went live with. I will also discuss the basics of implementing receivable collection, and for advanced collection, I'll discuss scoring and strategies, which is a main component of advanced collection. Then we'll proceed with the question answer session at the end. So now let us walk through the background of the social media company. Name is withheld for the confidential reasons. It's used collections functionality to improve their cash position. The company's goal was to optimize and streamline the collection process as the self-service center in Asia was being set up. This company earns revenue from ads from various customers, small customers who buy ads online, from small advertisers and also large size customers. The company is running in an R12 environment including AR. However, the advanced collection feature was not enabled. Because of this, the collection process was very manual. The collections group used Excel to capture aging data and notes per customer. Hence, it becomes very labor intensive. Let us discuss about the initial requirements set at the beginning of the project. As we go along, we will see how the requirements got changed and how the change affected the overall project deployment. One of the requirements was intended for the customers. The company would like the customers to do self-service function like viewing account balances and aging, viewing invoices, credit memos, requests for credits, print invoices, credit memos and statements, make disputes and also pay invoices, thus improving customer service through a self-service application by providing the customer immediate access to the accounts and manage, that is, make disputes, make payments, etc. the individual accounts without calling the collectors. This also increases the collectors' productivity and efficiency to make more collection calls and reduce the time the collection agents had to spend dealing with customer questions and not collecting. The next set of requirements was intended for the collections group, that is to improve the collections process by providing collectors with accurate and complete collections data and have visibility as to which accounts are delinquent at quick glance. Second, so that the collectors' workload can be prioritized by targeting high dollar, high delinquent customer accounts and delinquent transactions. And third, to eliminate most of the manual process which can be error prone and utilize functionality in iReceivables and also utilize the standard features of receivable collection. Let us take a tour of proposed solution that was composed of several phases. The first phase covered the out-of-the-box collection functionality of advanced collection. that can be used in AR without enabling advanced collection. This phase will also include implementation of iReceivables, both internal and external. Phase 2 covered the funds capture using Oracle payments so that customers will be able to make payments online. This is an example of self-service application. Although the company had a license of IEX, which is an application ID for advanced collection, the company's plan was to implement the other features of advanced collection in the future. Let us now display what happened during the course of the implementation. The security concerns that were raised due to the entire application suite being open to the external customers if self-service application, that is iReceivables, is made available to external customer, and further evaluation which led to the change in overall deployment. That's the reason the company went live with receivable collection and iReceivable internal first. Then immediately the use of strategies was implemented, which is a part of advanced collection. As mentioned earlier, the company had an existing license for the advanced collection. Hence, implementation was not an issue. There were also customization and configuration that were identified and implemented. I'll give you an example. Requirement for 7 types of dunning letters. So what are the dunning letters? Let me explain some lines about it. The advanced collection selects delinquent customers and then based on the oldest aging and the customer account, bill to and delinquency score automatically sends out the appropriate dunning correspondence. For each bucket line, the system can send different dunning notes to different customers based on their scores. It is recommended that we run dunning with the same frequency as we run billing cycle. The dunning letters that were customized initially were readily available, each to be associated to a specific work item. Just a note, for dunning letter we will have to run the concurrent programs IEX, promise, reconciliation, and to update payment received to determine the outstanding items, and IEX scoring engine harness, this scoring engine that scores transaction to create delinquency, and then run a scoring engine to score the level of dunning plan, that is customer, account, or bill to location, and IEX send dunnings for delinquent customer. This program sends the results of the scoring engine harness to Oracle one-to-one fulfillment to send out dunning correspondence. Number 2 was personalization, to either hide some fields, forms that are not used or default certain values instead of making a selection. The custom tab was also utilized in order to capture collection status and reserve status that will be used for reporting purpose. These statuses were replicated from the Excel reporting. Due to the security reasons, as I highlighted earlier, the company decided to put iReceivable external and funds capture on hold. These are both self-service application. For the next phase, after the implementation, reporting requirements were established, which were then created by the own IT support. What features can be implemented with receivables collection? So let us discuss about the features that are available without the advanced collection license. First feature is the collector's work queue. It provides a high-level list of all actionable work, tasks assigned to or owned by a collection agent. Dunning callbacks appear as callback tasks in the collector's task node in the collector's work queue. In the collection workbench, we can verify, are the counts of delinquency transactions by accounts a smaller number now and that sum are paid, or is the broken promise to pay now represented in the account level promise note? Check the count of the broken promises by customer account, or what is the status of the delinquency that is in dispute. Collector's work queue gives the collector a summary of delinquent accounts depending on the collection level the system is configured. I will discuss the options in the next slide. Next feature available is being able to drill down from the collector's work queue to the collector's workbench. In R2L, the collections workbench now consists of different tabs as follows. Customer profile. To view a summary of customer information, including installment and promises made in past 12 months, date of last payment, last interaction, and metrics. History tab. To view historic information based on the selected history type, such as all, payment, or dispute. Information about lease payment and promises to pay on leasing contracts is available if you use Oracle Lease Management. Next comes the Accounts tab, which displays the account details and all open unpaid transactions, that's the invoice, credits for each account of the customer. Next comes the Transaction tab, which displays the summary and detailed information and payments processed. Next comes Aging tab, which contains the current and past due transactions based upon the defaulted aging bucket per configuration. It could be the aging 4 buckets or 7 buckets, depending on what kind of bucket we would like to default under this tab. Next comes Notes tab, where the collectors can enter notes either by the account level or the transaction level. We can also capture here what correspondence have been made or sent to the customers, or track the development in collection after a call or follow-up call to be made per wish of the customer. Next comes Tasks tab, where tasks can be manually created or automatically created for callback. Examples of tasks are appointments, callback, follow-up, email. Another feature that we can use is capture a promise to pay for a single invoice or record a mass promise for multiple invoices as per the customer. Let us now see the features that can be implemented with receivable collections. Collectors can enter disputes, create reversals and adjustments. Disputes will trigger the credit memo workflow, which will go through an approval workflow process. So credit memo approval limits needs to be set up in AR. For adjustment, it functions the same way. When we create an adjustment in AR, it will also follow an approval process referencing the adjustment approval limits in AR. Let's talk about the responsibility first in the basic setup required. If we have an existing AR responsibility from 11i, we may be able to drop the old collections menu and replace it with the menu that is used by the collections agent's responsibility. We also have the option to use a custom responsibility, which we can copy from the CDL collections agent responsibility. We will also need a collections manager responsibility and a collection administrator responsibility. We can create a customer responsibility from the CDL responsibility. Then we will have to decide the access for these responsibilities. Whether access is limited to a single operating unit or a multiple operating unit. For multiple access, the MOAC setups will be required. Now let's go to the collector setup. Collectors need to be set up as an employee. If we are not using HR, we should still be able to set up an employee in shared install mode. Next, the employee needs to be created as a resource. Using the resource import process, as a resource we will need to have the username assigned, collection role, start date, and the collection group assigned. A collector name should be created and assigned to an employee. One important note, the username of the collector needs to have an employee assigned. This needs to be in sync up with the resource setup. Collectors need to be assigned at the appropriate profile level, that is account, to customers depending on the collection level. Now let's walk through the basic advanced collection setup through the setup checklist. We can go through the collections questionnaire, transactions setup, operations setup, and then the collection setup. So these all are mandatory in the advanced collection setup. As mentioned, we can only use the running plan, not the strategies at this point for the client. Then we will have to set the profiles for IEX, that is for advanced collection, and IEU for universal work queue to set the nodes which should be displayed in the collector's work queue. After all the required setups are complete, run the refresh AR transaction summary tables. This is once only. Then create a request set for IEX programs that we need to schedule to run on a daily basis so that the collections workbench will be updated. So let us now discuss the improvements in the collection process using receivables collection. So with this change, collectors were able to log into their computer to find an open task in the collector's work queue rather than maintain it separately in Excel, and manual is error prone. Second, collectors were able to create follow-up tasks as reminders. Third, they were able to create promise to pay and track broken promises by the customer. Fourth, they were able to capture notes per task that can be associated at account, transaction level, which they used to capture in Excel. And last but not the least, and the most important of all, the collectors now had more time to focus on follow-ups and reminders and become more effective and efficient, collect more, thus improving the company's cash flow. Let us now discuss about Oracle Advanced Collections, which provides the functionality available in receivables collection plus the following. First is configurable scoring. So scoring helps to know the relative value of each customer on the basis of delinquent transaction. When scoring transactions, Advanced Collection looks at the transactions from Oracle receivables, including invoices, debit memos, and chargebacks. Collection strategy is configured as an alternative to running plans, implemented earlier and discussed in the previous slide, to automate the collections management process and support collection activity. Strategies can be used to recover delinquent transactions such as invoices from Oracle receivables. With configurable segments feature, organization could run scoring for a segment of all customers, or it could create assignment to limit customers by variables such as country, annual revenue, or disputed transactions. Scoring engines use segments to optimize performance, score groups of customers differently, and support operations in different regions around the world. I'll just give an example. We can process Australian invoices when it is night time in Australia, and US invoices when it is night time in US. Next comes the create collection territories using territory manager to automatically assign collectors to customers. So this is done by running the concurrent program, synchronize territory assignment rules, and IEX territory assignment. Next comes the strategy, which we'll discuss in the next slides. Life cycle, which displays list of all the delinquent transactions and events that happen during the collection life cycle, and the two tabs, which is custom tab 1 and 2. These tabs are available with additional licensing are if you use Oracle Loans or if you use Oracle Lease and finance management. As mentioned, the deployment plan changed during the course of initial deployment. After further evaluation, business felt the need to implement strategies next on the basis of scoring, discussed in the slides below, which can be used only if the advanced collection is enabled. Tasks were closely aligned to a collection timeline, which were manually created by customer account. So this process becomes repetitive. In advanced collection, each strategy is made up of one or more work items. A work item is a task to be executed manually or automatically and is driven by workflow. It is tied to a specific strategy, that is soft strategy, medium strategy, hard strategy. The workflow notifies the collector to perform a task or initiates the automation on an automatic process. Every work item has an associated workflow. Then certain activities vary by group of customers, whether direct or indirect customers. Hence, the strategy is needed to be grouped accordingly. This would mean segment need to be created. Hence, we created a separate view for each group of customers using the customer profile as a reference, such as all customers in Italy or all accounts with high balance amount. Now I just want to show you the two screenshots of collectors work queue. The first one is an example of a collectors work queue where tasks are manually entered. Here the collections level is at an account level. So we will see delinquent account in the delinquent node. We will also see the broken promises node is also displayed. What needs to be displayed and hidden and the order how the nodes will be displayed are controlled by the profile values set for the universal work queue to display delinquent customer data in the collectors work queue. The other screenshot shows how a work queue looks like if strategies is implemented. We will see that on the top of the delinquent accounts, work items associated to a strategy will be displayed. There is nothing displayed on the right side on the work queue at the moment, but if the count is not 0, the open work item will be displayed on the right side, including the strategy that is associated with it. Now let us now discuss the concept of scoring in advanced collection. This is a very important piece in advanced collection. Scoring uses a scoring engine which can be composed of one or more configurable weighted scoring component. A scoring engine produces a score on each customer that flags the status of a transaction and ranks a customer account. A score can be assigned at customer, account, or bill to site. Now, what are the scoring components used? So there are some examples of scoring elements. So the first one is number of delinquent transactions that the customer has as of today. Number of years we had a relationship with the customer. So this is customer sense. Amount of delinquency, whether it is a high amount or a low amount or a mediocre amount. Days late, number of broken promises. So these are some of the scoring engine components. Each scoring component is configured with a series of ranges and corresponding values, which would be a scale of 1 to 100. Each scoring component is assigned a weight so that one component may be more valued than the other in the same scoring engine. The value is multiplied by the weight. The scores of each component are added to determine the overall score for that scored object. In Oracle Advanced Collection, a higher score is generally considered good and a lower score is considered bad. So to illustrate, let's have an example. Here we will see an example of a customer or account scoring. There are three scoring components, namely number of delinquency with a weight of 40%, customer sense with a weight of 10%, and delinquency amount with a weight of 50%. These three components add up to 100%. Example of a customer accounting scoring, this continued. So let's look at the different scoring component closely. The first component is number of delinquencies. Here we will see that for a range of number of delinquency, there is a corresponding score. The lower the number of delinquency, the higher the score. For example, if an account has 4 delinquent invoices, the score is 100. If 25 delinquent invoices are there, the score is 1. That can be seen from the slide. Next component is customer sense. We will see that for each range represents number of years. The longest time the customer has been doing business with us, the higher the score. So if one customer started business with us in 2010, the score is 1. We may adjust the score for each range depending on how we want this to affect the overall score. The next scoring component is delinquencies amount. The higher the delinquency amount, the lower the score. So if the delinquent amount is $500,000, the score is 20. So I assume the scoring component part is clear. So now we move to the strategy slide. A strategy is a series of manual or automated tasks known as work items. Each work item is a collection activity to recover a delinquency, such as making a phone call or sending a letter, which can be reused and included in many strategies. IEX strategy management concurrent program is run to select a strategy for each delinquent object. Each strategy is ranked based on the score it applies to. This rank determines how hard, aggressive, or how soft the strategy treats the delinquent customer. Here are the two examples of strategies. The first example is a soft strategy and the other one is a hard strategy. If you read out to the soft strategy and the hard strategy, you will notice the difference. The hard strategy is directly sends the termination notice on the first go, but the soft strategy sends the running notice and it's on a softer to the customer. So what's the final scoring got implemented at the client's place? After checking and testing the seeded account scoring engine and the seeded components, the results of some tests proved that the actual score did not make sense for the operation, and they decided to use only one scoring component, which is the aging bucket line. A range represents the aging bucket line. The aging bucket consists of 7 aging bucket lines. Here is how the scores are mapped to the different strategies. We will see the 2 columns for strategies, one for ISO and one for DSO. The customer were grouped according to their classification, direct or indirect, for this illustration. The classification is identified through a customer profile assigned to the customer. We created a separate view for each segment, which we have used for the account scoring engine, so that the system can assign the correct strategy based upon their score. What's the difference? For a score of 60, the system assigns a hard strategy versus medium for DSO customers for same score. So indirect customers are being managed with a more stringent collection activities. Now let's talk about the challenges we encountered during the implementation. The first bullet is actually for receivables. This may not be as relevant, but I thought of just mentioning this in passing, in case we will implement this with receivables collection or advanced collection. Receivables use bills presentation architecture templates, and if we already have an existing custom invoice print program in AR, we will need to do some work in receivables, so that when we click the button to view the actual invoice in the receivable workbench, we will see the same invoice format from AR. The next challenge is the generation of dunning letters. There is a send dunning button in the collection form where it will initiate generation of the dunning letter, and depending upon selection of option as part of the initial setup, can print, fax or email to the customers. Next is the scoring. Since the customer does not have a set of rules to score their customers, we went through this exercise of doing a sample calculation using the seeded account scoring. After several tests, the actual results revealed that the scores would not work with the strategies that they would like to implement. The next challenge is to make sure that data in the collection workbench are in sync with the AR. As part of the shift from dunning plan to strategies, the request set needed to be redefined in order to include the program to generate the strategies, that is IEX strategy management. The last challenge is to find a field, perhaps a DFF, to capture 2 values. Now advanced collection provides custom type 1 and custom type 2 for this purpose. The challenge is that for each tab there are already fields that are set, and so if we need to remove or add a field or fields, we will have to customize. This slide shows the seeded scoring engines that are available in the system. If one suffices business need, we will use it. Otherwise, we can create our own scoring engine. Due to high importance of cash in running a business, it is in the best interest to collect outstanding receivables as quickly as possible. By turning sales into cash, a company has the chance to put the cash to use again, ideally to reinvest and make more sales and thus reduce cost of sales.